What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here, Gaslands NorCal. Thanks for joining me once again for another creation video. So as you can see, I've got a lot of little things going on. Buddy of mine, Bo Algren, love that guy, sent me some Micro Machine sized templates. So I'm going to set up some Micro Machine cars so we can actually use the templates. And I think this will actually help out in creating some instructional videos because my studio, which is also my craft room, it's not that big, so trying to film stuff in the regular scale doesn't always work out that great, and the camera angle and everything is just not perfect. So gonna get these set up and hopefully do some instructional videos and some battle reports and stuff. So yeah, this is kind of like a whole project series thing that I'll be working on. But first, I gotta get these bad boys all painted up Gasland style. And as you can see, I've got about 12 vehicles here. Found most of these vehicles on Thingiverse, and they were regular size, so I had to shrink them down to Micro Machine size. Now, it's my understanding that Micro Machine size is about 1.5 inches, so that's what these are. So even though they're smaller, it seems like the painting process should go faster, but I don't really think so. I think it's going to take as long, if not a little bit longer, to get the fine detail stuff going on. I already got a lot of vehicles all set with the weapons and everything. Even got a ram going on one of them. I'm going to use some decals, I think, and maybe a little bit pieces of armor and stuff. So it's going to be, you know, a little bit different than some of my other creation videos. So stick with me. Let's get these things primed up, and we'll start getting them all painted, and then we'll move on. Alright, so we're all primed up and ready to go, realizing that even though they're Micro Machines, or at least Micro Machine size, it's still 12 vehicles. So I'm going to do as much as I can to individualize each one, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be using the Monument Hobby Pro Acrylic paints for the most part. I have a whole bunch of different decals I'm going to use to try to make each one different. But yeah, this is going to be quite a chore, so stick with me and we'll get through it. Alright, see, we made it. Now, if you were paying attention and watching closely, you'll see that I kind of transitioned from the lighter color with the yellow and added some of the green, and it got darker and darker in my airbrush and kept adding along. I didn't really clean out my airbrush completely until I jumped over into the red and the blue. It's just one of the ways that I've found to make doing cars, like if you're doing a whole assembly line of cars in rapid succession, it makes it go a little bit quicker, especially if you have an airbrush. So yeah, just one of the little tricks I found. Not just trying to do a bunch of Micro Machines really fast, but trying to show you guys how I do that as well. So now we're getting into the more of the nitty gritty and how we're gonna make all of these things kind of individualized. So I'm gonna do some of the fine detail work, get all the weapons and everything painted in silver, the bumpers and stuff, try to get all the headlights and everything done, the tires, and then we'll start doing the decals and maybe some striping and stuff to get everything so they don't all look pretty much the same. So yeah, stick with me, we're getting there. Alright, got some detail work done, got the bumpers, front and rear on all these things, got all the weapons and stuff painted. Next, we're going to moving on to the tires and the headlights. In case you're wondering, yes, I did have to pull out the big guns. Got my jeweler glasses going on. Found myself moving to smaller and smaller brushes as I went along. Obviously have some overpainted areas you have to touch up. But hey, they're micro. I mean, you know, it's a lot more difficult doing it on these smaller vehicles than on a regular size die cast. So next I'm going to do the tires, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do the headlights, because it's going to be a lot different than I do with my regular builds. So yeah, stick with me, we are getting there. Alright, so I've got the wheels done, and I've got the windshields done on all of them. A lot of very minute brushwork, kind of steady hand stuff, which I'm not the best at, so that's why it doesn't look perfect. That's why I like Gaslands, because it doesn't have to be quite so perfect. Some look better than others. Try to touch it up with some of the chipping, and maybe throwing some armor and everything else on there, and the weathering, which will make it look a little bit better. So, but yeah, getting a lot of the work done. Very, very tedious, minute work. Notice how I'm throwing in all those little words. But yeah, we're getting there. Quite the process, quite the journey. But yeah, let's get the headlights on and the tail lights on the vehicles that they show up on, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to use a very high-tech tool, a toothpick. And what I do, and I do this mainly when I'm doing like my miniatures and stuff, when I used to paint them and try and do the eyes, to do the little black dot, just get a little speck on the tip of it, and they just beep. This is very minute. We get the little blue on there, and beep, 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 get those on there. So let's get all the headlights on there and the tail lights on there, and yeah, then we'll move on to a little bit more weathering and some decals. Alright, so I got the headlights and the tail lights all painted on all these bad boys. Some looking better than others. It's a lot of really, like I said, steady hand work, which sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but all in all, not looking too shabby for 1.5-inch long vehicles here. Next we're going to move on to some weathering. Just going to use the old Agrax, and since these are all 3D printed, you can see I kind of did this one. All the print lines, because these are so small, are really going to come through, which may or may not look good, just depending on where they come in at. So I'm going to get these all Agraxed up, and then do some more detailing, some decals and stuff on some of them. But yeah, let's get these weathered up for the first step, and then we'll keep on moving on. Alright, so we are all grunged up a little bit. I got the decals on each and every one of them. That was some tedious work. Decal work on any cars can be kind of a, just a fine process, but on these tiny things, even more so. But yeah, looking really good. This is like the step that's, for me, is always like the turning point, when things really start to come alive and the car really starts to show its true colors and its true nature and stuff, and I figure out exactly what it's going to be. So yeah, looking really good. I'm going to add a little bit more detail work on there. I've got this fine print plasticard diamond plating mesh armor that I'm going to be putting on there. Probably going to be using some of the lead tape that I've used in my other builds. Just cut it a little bit smaller. Got the mesh for the windows. It's the same size mesh I used in my other one, so it might look a little big, but it'll work for what I use it for. But yeah, fine little details left to go on and do some dusting and stuff, and then we will be ready to play some Micro Gaslands. Alright, here we are, all armored up, weathered up, looking pretty good. Didn't do armor on every one of these. Didn't want to kind of go overboard, but just to kind of get some done. Mesh turned out pretty good. Gonna add a little more chipping to some of them, maybe a little rust and stuff. But yeah, these things are looking really good. Not too bad. Almost ready for the wastelands. Alright, and there we have it. A dozen Micro Machine cars ready for Gaslands. Got them all detailed up, all individualized and everything. Looking pretty good. Turned out surprisingly well for as small as these things are. 1.5 inches for each one. I said, going to be useful in using the Micro Machine templates I got from my good buddy Bo. Going to be helping out and doing some instructional videos, make it a little bit easier to do an overhead shot. But yeah, really enjoyed the process. A little more tedious than I'm used to, but yeah, these all turned out great. If you want to kind of get a scale of reference for these things, here is some of my normal builds. And here it is next to it. So much smaller, obviously finer detail work, much more steady hand kind of work. The decals worked out great to individualize each one of these. Gonna be useful, like I said. Here's the templates we're gonna be using. Plays exactly the same, it's just using smaller templates and stuff. It's gonna be really useful for instructional videos, like on how-to and everything. Make it easier to show an overhead shot when doing stuff. So yeah, that's gonna work out really well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, go ahead and hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, whatever. So if that's for you, please hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell most of my builds pretty expensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to check something out, you can even order a custom build if you want. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.
Thingiverse.